Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you brought your A game. A made no lames on the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you brought your A game. A made no lames on the track when we unite.
Hey now, it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by Oliva. How you doing, JD?
I forgot my computer at home. I didn't realize, or I got my computer at school, and I had my school computer here, but I didn't have camo on here. I didn't have the StreamYard password, and none of this occurred to me until about 7 minutes ago. So I have been in a mad dash to get this thing all connected. So my bad.
Yeah, it's all good, man. We made it. We're only a couple of minutes late, so not too big of a deal. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for all the folks, the fine folks in the chat. Join us right here on the Voices of Wrestling YouTube channel. You can also listen to us on all of your podcast apps, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. I think Google's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast app. And then, of course, if you want the show early and ad-free, you can go to patreon.com/The Mike and JD Show and become a premium subscriber. That is the best way possible for you to be able to support the show. It helps us keep the lights on. And honestly, before I send the audio of this show to Rich, and Rich typically gets it up Friday morning, maybe Friday afternoon from Voices of Wrestling. It's already up in our Patreon feed. So like you wake up Friday morning and boom, it's already there in your Patreon feed. And then of course we got tons of extra bonus content. Dude, I cranked out 2 Brace for Impacts over the weekend. One of them was just exclusive on Patreon, and then the other one started with Patreon, and then I released it on YouTube.
I'm going to try to crank out a JD Oliva project tomorrow during the day. We'll see what happens. We started wrestling practice this week. So I've had, it's Thursday night. I've had 7 wrestling practices in the past 4 days.
Oh, no shit.
3 at the high school, 3 with the kids club. I'm wiped.
Damn.
This is the busy time of year for me, man.
So today was my first day back at work since I went back from Missouri. I took extra time off just to kind of recover from all the flights and then, being away from family and all that stuff. And so I go back into work today and they go, "What are you doing here?" And I go, "I work here."
I work here?
And I'm starting. Yeah. I'm starting a new position too. So they were all, "We weren't expecting you till Tuesday." And I was just like, "So can I just go home?" And I go, "Well, no, since you're here."
Yeah. No one said
and I was
that.
like, yeah. And I was like, well, my leave technically ended today. They go, "Okay, well, we don't really have anything for you, but if you want to hang out for a while, we can kind of discuss some stuff about your new position that you will really be starting on Tuesday." So I worked a little bit in the morning. I came back after lunch. My boss had already left for the day because he had to go back in later in the evening for a military function. And so I was like, well, shit, I actually took off work at like 1:00 today and got my daughter out of school early. Just went and picked her up out of school like 3 hours early and just took her to go get ice cream. So
that's awesome.
Good day. Yeah. It was a good day over here, man.
Yeah.
I see that my video is freezing, so I do apologize about that. No matter where I go, I don't have a good internet connection.
Those military internet feeds typically aren't great, is what I've learned over these past couple of years. Yeah, I had the high school practice, and then the wife dropped the kid off, and then we had our kids practice, and then I had to take him to his grandparents' house, which is 45 minutes from the high school, because he's off school tomorrow for Veterans Day, I think it is, but we're not. Yeah. My district isn't off, so he was off, so I dropped him off at his grandparents so I can go to work tomorrow. And I think the wife and I are going to have a kid-free weekend, which is nice. We haven't had that in a long time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I have a 4-day weekend because of Veterans Day. With all the craziness going on back home, I just forgot that it was Veterans Day. And I'm like, if I would have planned this out, I would have, extended my leave through Thursday. So,
Well, as a
um,
veteran, well, I'm not going to say thank you because I don't have the day off, but I guess my kid says thank you.
yeah, yeah. But hey, everybody, thank you guys for joining us. So, dude, we actually got a jam-packed show, and I like today's show. I like today's topics because it's not heavy bitching about AEW, which is what we've done the last 2 weeks. We actually have some like legitimate news stories. And the first story I want to get into actually dropped after I had already talked to you this morning, JD. Big stuff happening in the world of WWE, Endeavor, TKO, Vince McMahon news. Let's start it off with some Vince McMahon talk. We have Brandon Thurston right here. So he didn't report this. This was actually, he's just talking about it, but that he is selling 8.4 million of his shares in TKO. That's about 30% of his roughly 28 million company shares that he holds. And then another report came out later that this was about worth $700 million. And the reason why I wanted to start this off is because, like, in September, you and I talked about this. We actually read a Variety article on the air talking about Vince McMahon positioning himself to get rid of a lot of his stock, and that process has started. Today, he sold 30% of his stock.
Vince Turner. He seemed to have found himself kind of cut out of his own company, right? But what I find interesting about this is not good for the TKO stock to have your largest shareholder dumping 30% of his stock. That's going to create an instability in the market. And what TKO has discovered is, while we're praising a lot of, we'll talk about the CW deal with NXT later, the market doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Market doesn't like it. Market didn't like the SmackDown deal either.
No, well, because the projections were much lower. Yeah, they got a huge increase, but the increase wasn't as big as they had all projected. And therefore, that's going to make the valuation go down because they were projecting it to be much higher.
And Dave was talking about this. Dave's been, people who, you always tell people who don't actually listen to Dave because they think Dave praises AEW and hates WWE, when it's quite the opposite. Dave's really hard on AEW and has done nothing but praise WWE for the past year and a half, right? Dave was very on a lot of these WWE moves, these TKO moves, I should say, lately, because they're going for the cash now. They're not thinking about what's best for wrestling. SmackDown's going to get significantly less ratings, significantly less viewers, I should say, on Fox or on USA coming to Fox, and moving to the CW is not. Dave is like, this is not good. It's not good. They're not. And Brian Oliver is convinced that everyone's going to follow NXT because he is an NXT true believer. But Dave's of the opinion, no, it's not good. You're on a network with less visibility. Like, you're on broadcast, but like, it's not like WWE has not been on the CW before.
Yeah, this is the old UPN.
This is the old UPN.
Yeah, and it's just under a new name.
Mm-hmm.
I get why everybody's excited about the deal because they lost Fox, which is on broadcast, so they go to the least watched broadcast network in the CW. But the visibility is about the same as USA, but they're getting more money, so you would think WWE would be happy about that. It's like, it's not really that big of a trade-off, and you're getting paid a little bit more. So we'll see how all that works out. But Brandon goes on to say the stock is unsurprisingly down in after-hours trading, just over $80 right now, but 8.4 million TKO shares have a market value of around 700 million. So that, and then he actually last month, do you think we could play this Ari Emanuel clip right here, or we get in trouble for that?
Play it. No, play it. It's Ari Emanuel. Play it.
Okay.
A 40% increase, which was in line with expectation, was good. 2, the PFL situation. And 3, probably Vince in our deal wanted to be able to put at any point in time his stock, he's 78 years old. He's been working at this for decades and decades. So I think those 3 back-to-back issues, I think there's 3 things that happen.
So he was talking about the reasons why the stock went down, and they didn't get the increase that they were expecting with SmackDown. Saudi puts a bunch of money into PFL, which is a direct competitor to the UFC. Although PFL has done absolutely dick when it comes to like ratings. They're on ESPN2, which is a big channel. They're getting about the same ratings as Impact. There's been some episodes that got, like close to 200,000, but they're usually hovering around below 100,000 and in between like 70,000 and 150,000 viewers on ESPN2 for live sports. And MMA at that. And they have some like decent name fighters there, but now they just got Saudi Arabia to pump a bunch of money into their company and to sign, some of their big name fighters, but they still haven't done anything yet. So, but they're worried about that. And then of course, Vince, the market saw this coming. We covered it back in September that the market saw Vince, dumping his stock, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, I get it. He's looking to cash out a little bit. Talk about ratings real quick. Talk about the PFL ratings. Do you know what the second highest rated non-sports show was on cable last week?
Would it be AEW?
That would be Dynamite and Raw #1. So
yeah.
Hey, that's the Ric Flair wolf.
Oh gosh, do I still have share screen on?
Yeah, you do.
Stop screen. Oh, I was about to DM Scotty. I was about to DM Scotty the link because
the greatest AI masterpiece I've ever seen. Ric Flair wolf. Now we have to put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Ric Flair wolf. So to continue on, before we get into CW, I was listening to Wrestling Observer Radio yesterday morning, and I found it very interesting that Dave stated that that FX was one of the 3 possible landing spots for Raw. And then it comes out this morning that FX is now the leading candidate for Raw. FX, a Disney-owned company. We talked about this last year when there were rumors that Disney would be looking to get into the marketplace. And I found it very interesting because I think FX is, they're a USA, they're TNT, they're TBS, they're in line with those stations. It's a huge station that has either the same or more coverage than those other networks. I think that's a pretty big deal, but it looks like WWE might be sending Raw over to FX, man.
This is super interesting with Disney in the last 2 weeks. Disney has acquired the majority of Hulu, which I believe is valued at $8 billion. Disney is also, I had one more thing with Disney that they've done that I forgot. ESPN announced that they're doing their a la carte spinoff service. That's a Disney property.
In 2025, yeah.
In 2025, but they're gearing up to do that. So Disney is in spend mode right now, which is odd because they were talking about selling ABC to Nexstar. I still think that's probably going to happen at some point in the next 10 months. 10 months.
FX was apparently for sale for a while. Was one of the rumored channels for sale. Yeah.
No buys for FX because FX isn't a prestige network and it's expensive, right? So I think Disney's like, fuck it, we'll just go all in, and just make, if we've got it, I think Disney's attitude is we can't get rid of it. We got it. We'll make it work. Right. So that seems to be what they're at right now. WWE splitting their resources between 3 networks. It's weird that USA picked up SmackDown and didn't fight to keep Raw.
Well, I mean, the deal isn't done yet. They're the front runner, FX. USA could come in, Raw is synonymous with USA and vice versa. Raw has carried that network for 30 years, with a small break when Raw went to Spike, and then it was actually carrying it through the 80s too with Prime Time and the other shows that were on there. So, WWE Raw is big time on this station. So, I don't think that USA would be out of the running. I think that it just got leaked to the press that FX is now the front runner, which maybe that'll bring USA back to the table to want to spend some more money.
Yeah, stuff leaks on purpose sometimes, especially because we do this a lot with someone's the front runner and they wind up not being a player. I still think Amazon is more in the running than people think. It's all dependent if they really want to get in the pro wrestling game or not. I still think because Amazon's been able to secure stuff that they want because they have more like liquid capital than just about anybody else, and they're willing to spend. So this next, man, they're making a lot of money. They're making so much money.
Yeah, dude, they're making tons of money, and the fact that they're not making even more tons of money to have the price go down to their stock is kind of crazy because, they're insanely profitable at this point.
But they're not making the kind of money. Like, that's the thing is, like, we're talking about this, but they're not doing what the market wants them to do. Like, the CW move is not what the market's like. CW, what are we doing here? And, they thought the SmackDown got underperformed, 40% increase. But again, it's less. You got, let's be real, SmackDown got canceled.
Yes.
That's what happened.
And where do people hear about that first? Right here on this show. BJ Bethel. Yeah, BJ Bethel from SE Scoops, which I'm hoping to have back on here pretty soon, came here and said he had talked. This was back in April, May, I think. And he was like, look, I've been talking to people at Fox and they're not happy with it. And it looks like they're not going to renew. And people gave us shit. And turns out, our source was pretty much correct. So,
he was saying this for a year prior to this too. Like before he came on our show, he was telling us for a solid year earlier that was like, they're going to be gone. They're not going to make it to Fox. And I kind of thought and it made sense, but Fox keeps winning. Like it's weird. Yeah. Like we talk about ratings so much, but what they're not talking about is the fact that pro wrestling, let's be honest, we're a shitball audience, right? We don't drive the money the advertisers like. So Fox is winning. But Shark Tank's cleaning up.
Yeah. They would rather have fucking Friday Night Pickleball, and get half the viewership but twice the ad revenue. You know what I mean? Like ad revenue is what they care about the most.
And especially broadcast. I said this 2 weeks ago, I think, on the show. Advertisers are the lifeblood of television, and the sooner people learn to accept that, the better off you are. Like. This is why these pipe dreams of AEW to Fox, like you guys got to flush that away. Like you don't get rid of the number 1 and go to the number 2. Like you think AEW is going to, they're going to be significantly cheaper, but you're still not going to get good revenue for your ad sales.
Right. And because people need to realize that even if the wrestling show is the number 1 show on the channel, it's probably one of the worst driving in ad revenue, right? It doesn't matter what the numbers are. Advertisers don't care because they think that wrestling fans are poor and can't read and, and basically can't spend money with their food stamps. You know what I mean? Like that's how they see wrestling fans.
And even if it's not true, which it clearly isn't, AEW fans are flying to fucking London to watch a terrible show. Like, that's what they think. Like a percent. WWE for all the work that they've done in changing public perception of pro wrestling over the last 30 years, there's some stigmas that can't be shook. And that's one of them.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. So we've already talked about it a couple of times. WWE, NXT, they're going to the CW network. Rumor is they'll still be on Tuesdays, but I think USA, if they're spending tons of money on SmackDown, I think they're going to want to get that off Friday night. I think that Tuesday or Wednesday would be a better night for SmackDown than fucking Friday. And then Dave talked about that on his show. So that's not really like an original thought that I had, but I do agree. So maybe that gets moved around. I don't know. But a lot of people looking at this as kind of a lateral move because CW has about the same amount of coverage. But here's the thing. I don't know that many people with an antenna on their roof, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of cable packages don't have CW. People can get the channel for free by putting an antenna on their roof. Like I personally have not had an antenna on my roof in a very long time. And so unless it came with whatever cable package I had at that point, I would not have CW. So it's not as easy to get as people would think.
It's not as it's accessible, but it's also not. It's not Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS.
No, they're trying to change that with all the addition of live sports. Now they got ACC college football. They got the Saudi golf folks. They got Inside the NFL, which was canceled by Showtime and then canceled by Paramount Plus, and CW picked it up. So, and they're trying to do a bunch of different like reality TV shows that have been canceled by some other streamers. So they're trying, and this is one of the things they're going to do to get people to join. But it's just one of those things. Like I don't know that they're going to get the same numbers, but I'm going to be interested to find out.
Well, it's interesting because apparently it came out today too that the CW approached Tony Khan about Ring of Honor in 2022. He said, sorry, no buys.
That would have been a good place for Ring of Honor.
It would have been a great place for Ring of Honor. Like
I think he's just remaining loyal to WBD,
which I think is the move, because they don't have their TV deal set yet, and everything is underperforming what it probably would have been a year ago. I don't want to say the sports bubble has burst, but I think wrestling fans are getting a nice little dose of reality. Like I've heard some people say, "Oh, we're in a boom," and I've been hesitant to call it a boom. It's doing well, but this ain't 1985, man.
No.
So I don't, just based on this day, AEW, as long as Warner doesn't win the Raw sweepstakes, and in which case nothing might change. There's a major lawsuit. And I'll be honest with you, this version of the WWE, this TKO WWE, doesn't seem to give a shit about exclusivity the way Vince did. It doesn't seem like they run business the way Vince McMahon did.
Well, they don't, because, we talked about PFL earlier. PFL, the biggest competitor to the UFC on ESPN, where the UFC is. It's on ESPN and ESPN Plus, which is the same broadcaster the UFC runs everything through. So I don't think they're going to have those exclusivity clause, and that's why we're going to talk about NWA in a sec. But the whole thing is just I don't want to say that the NWA, or not NWA, that the CW deal is bad, but I don't think it's like that crazy good of a deal. And honestly, when it came out, what numbers that they're looking at, like a more than like a 70% upgrade from what they were getting, which is about 15 million a year. I thought they were getting way more money than that from USA for NXT.
Now, color me skeptical on this whole thing too, but it was reported. I went back and dug. It was reported that the NXT deal was between 25 and 30 in 2019 when that moved to USA. So there's some funky math from someone at some point, either 4 years ago or now. Like the value of what NXT was getting has changed. So I don't know. I don't trust anybody. Now Tony Khan had to make his deal. He's all about he has to be all about WBD. Has to be.
Well, I mean, does he have to be? Does he have any? Maybe he has some inside knowledge. Maybe somebody from WBD was like, "Hey, if you take this Ring of Honor channel to fucking CW, you're gone."
Can I go veer back into my conspiracy territory that I think WBD owns a part of AEW? Yeah, I know he says they don't, but he's a pro wrestling guy, and pro wrestling guys lie all the time.
Yeah, but Ring of Honor is a Tony Khan owned operation, and it's not under that AEW umbrella.
Yeah, but why shake? But you don't want to shake the tree when you don't,
I just find it to be like a weird insecurity there that he wouldn't want to put a separate company on a separate network that's not really a competitor to the network he's on. You know what I mean?
I think it's
just a weird thing.
Yeah, but it's securing your bets though, right? Because we've been talking about it for 2 years. This next deal is the lifeblood of the company. If they don't get a good deal, they're done, right?
Yeah.
And not just necessarily from WBD. I think they're trying to make their partners happy with WBD because WBD's been there from jump. And I think Tony's like, I got to ride this horse until she bucks. And I think he did think about that, but I think you're right. I think they're in the middle. But hey, man, if you're going to go somewhere else, maybe we go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just so weird. They're like, WWE's like, we don't want anything to fucking do with this Ring of Honor, but if you take it anywhere else, you're fucking gone. I just find that to be weird. Yeah, I just find it to be weird, and I don't know that I completely believe that. But look, he turned down even talking to CW, so he must think that if he even goes to anywhere else with a secondary product that is not really AEW affiliated, then he would get in trouble or something.
Or at least, not in trouble, but at least maybe jeopardize the relationship. Like he feels that way for a reason, and they're not in a position of strength, especially now.
Yeah, well, like you were saying, at one point we thought $1 billion TV deal coming, but now that WWE is not getting the increases that we thought that they were going to be getting, and it looks like other sports properties are not going to be getting the significant increases that they thought they were going to be getting. I think it's very, very highly probable that AEW is not going to be getting what they thought that they could possibly get. And maybe the TV deal that they were hoping to get is about a year too late.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. It seems like everything is a year behind. Like I know it's weird because like I said, AEW is not a publicly traded company, so it doesn't really matter. Like, if they don't hit, it's like they have to hit projections. It's more for morale, right? More than anything. Yeah. But it's interesting, right? I think that they're a year behind, like you said, but I do think this is all going to hinge on the NBA, right? Because that's
Yeah.
that's a 10-year deal, and we're gonna have to see where things shake down with the NBA before things really set. I thought it's very clear based on some of these moves, kind of where the NBA is leaning, right?
Yeah.
Like I know. We talked about Disney selling Hulu
Mhm.
and Comcast getting out. It sure seems like I've heard Comcast wants to make a major play for more NBA stuff, and Warner actually might lean back on some of the, because it's interesting. You're hearing this a lot. Like a lot of these companies, like baseball, like ESPN, has a smaller baseball because they lean back on the number of games that they were going to show. The rumor flying is that WBD isn't going to get rid of the NBA, but maybe just lean back on some of it. And maybe Comcast will try to pick that up for either Peacock or NBC or more games for that. I don't know, man. This NBA deal is going to be fascinating when it comes out in the next 4 or 5 months, I assume.
Yeah. So, JD, before Scott E should be joining us any minute now for some Joshi talk, but until he gets here, I want to go back in time, shall we, to exactly 1 week ago on this show, where we were talking about one Mr. Billy Corgan. Look how dark it is where I was at. I should have had more lights, but what are we gonna do? But you and I both predicted that the NWA would fuck up the CW deal. I want to play that clip really quick.
Please do. James Mitchell sniffing cocaine on your program. Not a draw. Not a draw. Television.
Well, maybe, you know what, JD? You know, you said this in the past. Maybe if they would have advertised that, hey, come watch this pay-per-view, because they did it when the pay-per-view was already on. Had they told people, like, you might see Father James Mitchell and some waitresses sniffing coke in the back. You know, if you're CW, right? If you're Brad Schwartz from CW and you're bringing this fucking horse shit onto your network, like, what do you think? Like, I don't think that deal is done. That ink ain't dry. They ain't made no announcement. This has just been leaked to the press. What if Brad sees this and is like, you know, I don't want this fucking shit on my channel.
It comes off so second-rate sleazy. It comes off so sleazy. I think that'll end that deal real fucking quick. Like, this is not 1996, man. That's not going to work. That show is going to get canceled in 6 months. Mark my words. I was wrong.
Yeah, it didn't even fucking leave the barn. Well, so now keep in mind, it was never really officially announced that they even had a deal, right? It came from a Nick Hausman report. Nick Hausman also is the one reporting that it looks like they might have lost their deal, and then maybe they're moved over to their CW app, which is a free app that you can get all the CW shows on. Wade Keller also reported that it looks like they may have blown it. And then all of a sudden now, WWE gets on NXT. Now it's not really being reported. It's being speculated that WWE, the current under the TKO model, is not going to be seeking exclusivity. So maybe it's possible that the NWA could remain on CW. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that he fucked that whole thing up.
Did you read the press release for the WWE where the TKO site says, yeah, the deal came together pretty quick. Like that's actually in there where they say the deal came together quick. Now, how quick is a thing? I'm sure these guys have been talking for a minute, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not, I mean, is it possible that I think it behooves WWE TKO to have the NWA on this affiliated with the CW, if for nothing else than to silence the lawyers for the MLW side in this upcoming lawsuit. You don't want to show exclusivity right now. You want to, if I'm WWE, you want to go on WBD and make sure AEW is still there, right? Just to say, look, we're on the same network as our biggest competitor. We're not trying to build a monopoly. Who wants a monopoly? That's the 80s. We're the new TKO, you know?
Yeah.
So, but in this case, Billy might have just done it on his own because he's stupid.
Yeah, he might have just got his fucking whole thing fired, and reports are out there that that a lot of the talent are frustrated with him. Now, of course, EC3, the world champion over there, denied those reports. That everybody is all happy-go-lucky. But I don't know. We have Scott E Wrestling from he does work right here on the Voices of Wrestling. He also does work for Fightful. Does work for Fight Game Media. He's got his own podcasting network, the hardest working man in podcasting. Scott, what do you think about this whole NWA shit show?
It's very funny. I really don't like the NWA outside of like a few prospects they have. Shocking, I know. So it's I feel bad for some of the talent, but overall, I just laugh at Billy Corgan.
Yeah, you kind of just reap what you sow. He look, Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins. I love the Smashing Pumpkins to this day.
Oh, they're
When Pumpkins
great.
are on the fucking radio, I love them. If they came to Hawaii, I'd fucking go in a heartbeat. Billy Corgan is one of the biggest goddamn idiots in the history of not only rock music, but in sports and media and everything. I listened to this stupid fuckface on Howard Stern one time, and he's very interesting person by it. And every time he's on Stern, I got to stop what I'm doing to listen, right? I listen to him. He's going to be coming out with a book eventually talking about his encounters with lizard people. That's who's running the NWA. Somebody that is buying into lizard people, and he's had actual encounters. So of course he fucked this whole thing up by having James Mitchell snort coke live on his pay-per-view in hopes to shock people to think, hey, this is the new NWA. We're crazy over here. You should come watch.
It's I can't astounding to me. First of all, Billy Corgan has this really overinflated ego about the role he played in 90s music, where he talks about him and Kurt Cobain like it was this great rivalry. I'm like, I think Billy cooked that up in his head. I never remember Kurt Cobain ever, and I'm from Chicago. I love the Smashing Pumpkins, but I don't remember Kurt Cobain ever paying him any mind. I mean, like Today came out like Today hit big like 6 months before Kurt died. So it's like, maybe you weren't kind of what you think you were. Like he's got a very high opinion of himself, high being the relative term.
Yeah. So he, at one point he had this quote. He said, if Nirvana is Led Zeppelin, then we're the Doors. I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not even like, and again, I love the Smashing Pumpkins, but 90s alternative rock band, top 10. I would be okay with saying, like, in alternative rock, you got your Nirvana's, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden. Talking about the grunge type of alternative rock, not getting into the heavy metal type stuff. You could Alice in Chains. You could probably put them right there with those guys, but they're kind of pulling up the rear. Siamese Dream was a great fucking album.
7. Actually, Melancholy is a better album, I think. But
Melancholy
7 at best.
Melancholy is an epic album. It is their white album. It is their fucking masterpieces they have. I love Gish. I love Siamese Dream. I love Ava Adore. I'm one of the few people that fucking like Ava Adore.
That album sucked.
But the song Ava,
Ava Adore's an alright song. The album,
that song was great, and I think Everlasting Gaze was on that album. But
tonight,
I enjoyed it.
Tonight is one of my all-time favorite songs. I cannot be in a bad mood. When the alternative station in Chicago died for the first time, the last song they played was Tonight from the Smashing Pumpkins, because it's a song about Chicago, and it's an epic song. It's beautiful. Billy Corgan's a fucking moron.
Yes, he is. And Scott, before we get to some Joshi talk, I want to talk. Well, actually, hold on, just really quick. Let's get you guys' thoughts. Alexander Hammerstone, we talked about him last week. He requested his release from MLW. He's working GCW now, but nothing has been announced. MLW has said that he's not going to be released. At least they leaked that to the press. He asked for his release, and then he took his post down, and the next thing you know, Brett Lauderdale is announcing that Hammerstone is making his GCW debut, which you don't have to be free of a contract to be able to do that. I think MLW and GCW were kind of like this for a while because MLW was trying to become GCW,
lifting their storylines.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any there, but I just want to make a plea right now. MLW, release that guy. What are you doing? You got nothing to offer him. Let him go make some fucking money. And they did the same thing to Eras. He AAA guy. He requested his release. They said that they told Conan to release him. Conan never told him. So this whole time he's been under contract, which I think everybody's fucking lying in that situation except for the talent. So that came out. Everybody's abandoning ship. Lance Anawai's already been gone. Juicy Finau has already been released. Now Hammerstone and Eras. MLW and NWA remain a couple of shit shows. Go ahead, Scott.
I'll never understand the need to pay someone you're not using. I'll never get that. I'm sorry, Alex Hammerstone's not going to become competition for the MLW. You know why? Because MLW doesn't have competition. They're below most competition that they would consider, right? Did you guys ever hear that comment from like Al Snow, how, or I don't know if it was Al Snow, but it was from the wrestlers thing that they put on Netflix. Someone was like, you got WWE is tier 1 and AEW is tier 2 and then OVW is the tier below that. I was like, excuse me. So like I think MLW thinks that same way. It's just not. Like MLW has their own thing. They just, if someone wants to go away, they should just let them. Like you're trying to build up goodwill, not take away from the whatever will you have right now.
Yeah.
I'll say this for Al Snow. He convinced a lot of people who really don't like wrestling who discovered that show that OVW is the third biggest promotion in the world. I heard a lot of people say that, and I was just like, "What? Oh, do you watch OVW?" I'm like, "No, I don't watch OVW." Like, why would I do that? And they're like, "Oh, it's really good." How? What? Huh? You know how I know? You know how I know OVW is bad? Paul told me it was really bad, and Paul watches everything.
I was just about to say, Paul Fontaine watches OVW, and he's like ashamed of himself for watching it.
Like
but he just really likes to make sure that he tries to watch everything. He looks at all the upcoming prospects, and and he says that it's like the worst television show out there right now. But MLW, you guys run one show every 6 to 8 weeks. It's on Fight TV, and then you take long breaks, like you take 6 months off. Just let the guy go get himself over and make a living, will you? Please, come on. But all right. So the reason why we brought Scotty on, but Scotty is not pigeonholed, motherfucker. Scotty can talk about everything. He's knowledgeable about all.
Yeah, I can talk about Alex Hammerstone and NWA. Come on,
absolutely.
But
yeah, Scott can talk about everything.
Here's what we want to talk about. Scott, what the fuck did we watch last night? What the hell was that?
Yeah,
I gotta
honestly.
I knew. I knew Scott was pissed. Scott showed up in my DMs last night and was like, "This is bullshit, man." I was like, "Hell yeah, dude! Let's fucking talk about this." I'm with you.
So Mariah May, right? I watched a little bit of her stuff in Stardom, and I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest like Mariah May and Stardom expert, but I have checked out some of her stuff, and I'm like,
you did more than a lot of the people that acted like they were excited. Good job.
Yeah. So like she actually, I was like, this lady is pretty damn good. I was like, I think that she could be a star in the US. And a lot of other people felt that way too. Apparently WWE was on the table, AEW was on the table. So when Scotty, not really broke the news here, but he talked about it here first.
I was a month off.
He said, it's fine. He came here and said that she's AEW bound, thought it was going to be Wrestling Dream. Didn't work out that way, but she's here now. And we were all thinking that she's going to be getting debuted in a big, big way. And because she's going to be a megastar, she's going to inject some much needed energy into this women's division in AEW, which is lacking all the time. People constantly complain about this division. They have all these great stars, yet there's no creative energy. There's something missing from it. We thought maybe Mariah could bring what was missing, right? She shows up and she's playing the Mickie James character from WWE circa almost 20 years ago, where she's obsessed with Trish Stratus, right? There other people have compared it to other things, but that was the first thing that popped into my mind. So Scott, you're the Joshi expert. You tell us what you thought.
One, I was happy for her, first and foremost. Happy she got to debut and, get a spotlight. They could have just had her do a run-in, and that would have probably been worse because, truthfully, I don't know if the crowd was going to, know who Mariah May was in that spot. However, I'm a big fan of, if you're going to debut someone, you give this highlight video of what they're able to do and things like that. It's like a common sense thing to me in pro wrestling. It's very simple. And I feel like we never do that anymore. And, as she was talking, I was like, okay, yeah, talk yourself up. Talk how you went to Stardom, things like that. And then it all turned into, I did it all for Toni Storm. And I was just like, what did I do to deserve this? I was like, what did I do? I was like, I know she's probably going to make it work. Like, I saw a lot of people happy about how she made it work. And I'm sure she will, because I'm confident in her abilities.
Yes.
But man, I just want her to come in and kick ass. That's literally all I wanted. This is a woman who went up to Julie and slapped her straight in the mouth and had no problem about it. Like, that's she's a badass. And now she's a stand for Tony Storm, which is we'll see. Now, I saw someone pitch the idea that like she'd use Tony Storm to get like higher up the card, like in her mind, and I was just like, okay,
So
I don't have that patience. So
here's the thing.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that this storyline that they're going with is based on a movie called All About Eve from the early
Yeah.
50s. Give me a second here. This is the Betty Davis movie about
heard this too.
about an aging starlet who takes a young actress under her wing, and the woman completely usurps her and like is the heel of the story and leaves her like in the dustbin, right? So I know for all of us, because like people our age, Scott, you're younger than us, see this and we think the Mickey James or prior to that Tori Stable storyline that kind of got aborted halfway through, the single white female inspiration. Are you familiar with the film Single White Female, Scott?
No.
It fucking sucks. It stars Jennifer Jason Leigh and Bridget Fonda. These two roommates, they live together. The one becomes obsessed with the other and tries to like take over her life. Right. It's not a good movie. So that's kind of what we think. That was the Mickey James Trish Stratus thing. From what I am told, they're going to try to go higher brow with this. I think they've already lost the plot because everybody's brain immediately goes to what we already know because we're wrestling fans and we're uncouth and uneducated.
Yeah, and so here they debuted her as a fangirl, right? Now I'm already not taking this person seriously, unfortunately. Like, and that so now can she overcome bad booking? It's very difficult, but I think she's talented enough, and she cut like
ring the bell.
When she was on the camera, like I forgot that she was talking to that fucking idiot RJ City. Like I was like, okay, get out of the way, dummy. So like I was like the camera just seeks her out. She's a star, right? Like everything about her screams star, but they presented her as if she's less than because she wants to be somebody else. They should have presented her as the big star, right? And then we would start to believe it. Now I get what Scotty was saying. If she would have ran out into the audience, they wouldn't have known who she was. Vignettes, like what are like they have a
the
deal with
old-fashioned way.
They could probably talk to Rossi Ogawa, right, and get that footage to present her and then make it seem like she's a star. Do that over the course of a few weeks. That'd have been so much better. But instead, they presented her as a fangirl who's less than.
I think if they do a few videos leading up to this and then you do this, it's not as hurtful for me as a fan because it's like, all right, you were building her up and then you swerve the story on us. Sure, am I gonna love the fact that she's a Tony Storm super fan? Probably not. Like I'm gonna be honest, either way, I'm not a big Timeless Tony fan at the moment, but she's very popular. So I'm trying to look at it that way. They have paired her with someone who is very over. Hopefully by default that gets Mariah May over one way or the other, because ultimately, as I said, all you need to do is ring the bell and she will show you why she is badass, why she can be a superstar. And unfortunately, that's not always how AEW works with the women's division. So I'm just hoping her first match isn't like 3 months down the road, because I think at the end of the day, you should be showing someone who you signed to wrestle how they can wrestle. I know. It's a crazy idea, but I think that would be good.
So I've lost the AEW hardcores, guys. Like the AEW hardcores have turned on me because
Hold on, JD. You know why you've lost them? Because you've lost that love and feeling.
I have, in fact, lost. It's gone.
Gone. Sorry.
So I actually had people today telling me that a vignette would have been a worse idea to do than, and I was like, what? And so I put up the Mystico thing that they ran 4 weeks ago. And I'm like, are you trying to tell me that what we saw would be better than this? And they're like, no, she comes in with a storyline. She came in and told us what she wants to do.
She could have done that after.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm like, this is wrestling 101. You build someone up. And I literally had like 4 or 5 people telling me that I was dumb for saying this. And I'm like, huh? Have I lost the people? I feel like that Skinner, that Principal Skinner meme. I'm like, no, it's the children who are wrong. Yeah. Like I was astounded.
They're like, oh, she comes in with a storyline. Guys, that doesn't mean the storyline is good. It's like, well, at least she has a storyline. I would rather her not have a storyline if it's going to be this one, right? Just introduce her and then figure out a good storyline. But instead, they just dumped her right into one where she's less than.
See, here's the problem is because Tony Khan has listened to these bad faith detractors on Twitter for the last 3 years who are the Vince Russo school of, you don't tell stories, you don't tell stories, you don't tell stories. Here's the problem. AEW for basically the duration of its existence tells too many fucking stories.
Yes.
It's too hard to keep it straight. Like anyone says
Yeah.
they don't tell stories, you're a fucking liar and you don't pay attention. They do so many stories, and I get it. They're trying to get people involved. They're trying to keep everyone happy. But realistically, you're better off sometimes just going out there and beating the shit out of people and moving on, and then move into a story. That's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need. And here's the problem: I would rather have a quarter of the stories we have in AEW right now, but just make them good. Bad stories, like lots of bad stories means lots of bad TV. That's why the pay-per-views are great and the video and the TV, sucks.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Scott.
The only thing I will say, and this is because I just have investment in her and where she goes, because obviously I'm rooting for her as someone who's followed her career for the past 11 months. I'm happy she didn't just like debut on Rampage or something. Like just have like here's the video, her debut match on Rampage. Like I'm happy we didn't do that.
Good
So
point.
like I have to look at it that way because again with the women's division, I have to look at it very differently from say when they bring in a Christian Cage or they bring in, Swerve Strickland, where they kind of roll them out on this red carpet of here's our big signing, right? So I think that's also the way I'm looking at it. And I will be kind to it because if the story is that she is the one benefiting from this in the end, then okay. I just don't want her to become timeless Tony Storm. She is so much better than that for me.
Can I say something controversial?
Oh, let's do it.
This is the most over Tony Storm has ever been.
Well,
and
that's true.
I know that we're not supposed to say that because I read it in like our Slack and all the time, and I see I hate Timeless Tony. I hate Timeless Tony. I hate Timeless Tony.
Oh yeah, it works.
She's over, and I'm gonna say, well, what are the gates, dude? She's not in a position to draw money. She ain't Max, right?
Yeah.
The main event's supposed to draw the gate. And let's be real, Timeless Tony's a mid-carder.
Yeah.
This is the hottest she's ever been in her career in the States, I should say. She's really good, but let's be honest, she was the champion, and all anybody wanted was anybody else to be the champion but her. So actually good background for her to go crazy, to be honest with you. Now she's like acting like Betty Davis, and people think she's great.
Yeah.
Right, which is fine for a mid-card act. I know it gets everybody mad because she's not a serious wrestler, but I mean, like, oh, it's fucking mid-card. Mid-card can be stupid. I got no problem.
I liked the beginning stages of it.
Yeah, I did too. I like it better than we got now.
I think the movie skits jumped the shark for me. But I like the early stages of it. I like the where she started to go crazy. She started to unravel. I was like, oh, I think we got something here. The movie skits took me out of it. That for me, like I was like, this is stupid.
Oh, I agree. I think she cut a good promo last night. I think last night was probably the best thing she's done since adapting this character. And I'm not talking about me. I'm not saying I love Timeless Tony Storm and all this shit. I'm telling you that this is the most over she's been.
Yeah.
So
I can't deny that.
It's not for us necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't tell you.
Over.
She's getting reactions in the crowd again, and it's not her. She's not in a position where it's on her to draw the house. She's a mid-carder.
Right.
Mid-carder's got to get people interested.
And again,
guys, one thing that us crazy hardcore fans need to learn is that some of the stuff that we hate is actually going to get over. We just have to be like, okay, look, I hate it. It sucks, but what are we going to do? It's getting over.
Now, Max's shit sucks.
Admittedly, like the way I look at this is again back to Mariah. The way I look at it is if she's over, hopefully that means Mariah will get over rather than getting lost in the shuffle, because that is something that many wrestlers who come in, get signed, they have a few matches, then they kind of disappear for a little bit. Like even Jay White did that. Jay White of all people, like, kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. If I can avoid that, and she just has this TV spot every week, I can't complain too much because again, she signed the contract. She should, and I think she will be a superstar. Because I just feel like it's really hard to mess her up.
It takes time, and then unless they got WWE pedigree, Tony doesn't really debut them and push them right away. a lot of times.
Don't-
Like
and-
we saw that with Jay White.
Well, Tony
we
Storm,
saw that with.
Tony Storm did get pushed right away. She came in.
Well, she came straight from WWE television.
and she was champ pretty quick.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
Well, she
crowd-
came right off of WWE TV,
and the
which is
crowd
why.
didn't take to her. They wanted Jamie
Yeah.
Hayter. Let's not forget that.
Yep.
Your cousin brings up a good point. I buried him a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago on the show. He goes,
Well,
LA
continue
Knight.
burying him.
No, I'm actually going to praise Joe this time.
Oh,
LA
fuck him.
Knight, yeah. I mean, like, let's be honest. That dude is not a good wrestler. He's had a mediocre career, and he just headlined a giant pay-per-view in an evil country. But I mean, he is over. He is one of the most over stars in professional wrestling today. And I have to walk into class and hear kids go, yeah. And I always say dummy, and they don't get it. So
Yeah.
the dummy thing doesn't
Yeah.
carry over. But that's the thing.
Well,
is
yeah,
like,
because he doesn't
Go
do
ahead.
the dummy thing in WWE.
No, he doesn't get
right?
that. That's why
Yeah.
I mess with the kids, because they didn't watch
Right.
they didn't watch TNA. They don't know nothing. No, that's the thing though, is like this is the stuff that gets over with people, right? I know we love
Yeah.
wrestling, and as long as Toni Storm has good matches and people cheer for her, I mean, like sometimes we got to meet people halfway.
I don't know what a Tony
Yeah.
Storm Timeless Tony match looks like, so I can't even comment yet.
It's a good point. We haven't seen really what that means yet on the main. We will next week, right? Her and Sheeta.
Yep.
Yeah. So more Joshi talk. I think we've beat that Mariah May thing to death. So WWE is interested in Guilia. Scott, what do you know about this? And are the rumors true? And do we think that she'll be heading over there?
I can't stress this enough. If you call yourself a professional wrestling company and you're not interested in Guilia, shut down.
Yeah.
I like if you see Guilia show up to a show, if you see her make her entrance, if you see what like her
Tremendous.
look, you don't even have to see the match. Like you should
Yeah.
see the match because usually the match is really good, but you don't even have to see that. If you don't have interest in Guilia, you should not be a company. That's my opinion on this. And with
Dude.
WWE, it was only a matter of time. The moment she got that strong women's title and was going to have US dates, I said, all right, well, here we go. Like someone's going to see her and someone's going to want her. It's the Io Shirai effect all over again. It's not Kairi, it's Io. It's that star power that she had in Japan.
Julia is stunning. Like not just like just her presence. Like you see, I've never really watched her wrestle, but I see like pictures of her on Twitter all the time, and I always stop and I go, wow, like there's just like this something like it's not just the fact that
She
she's
glows.
remarkably pretty, but she's just like she has a striking presence that like transcends. And you just like I totally get why WWE like they're trying to be WWE, grow and get, and I think there's something about Julia that even Io and Kairi don't have, where it's just like, and she's young too, so you can grow with her. I mean, why wouldn't both companies fight over her? Again, she's Japanese, so you gotta break that language, which they're bad at. They're still really bad at breaking that barrier.
But you know what, JD, the very interesting thing, yeah, she's stunning. Dude, her entrance, she's got a great presence.
Yep.
And then in the ring, second to none, obviously. Yep. But yes, she's Japanese, but she's also half Italian. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, she speaks Italian too, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So that makes her a bit more marketable to me in my eyes. And if you can get her to learn a little bit of English,
yeah, but
I think.
And this is where they struggle, though, is they always struggle. Yeah. They always struggle trying to get people really over that don't speak English. They've never quite figured out that secret sauce. And for a while, I thought AEW is starting to figure that out with foreign talent. They seem to have lost the fastball. On that.
Not to defend WWE here, but I feel like they've done a really good job with Asuka, making her into a big star.
Asuka's probably the best comp for Julia.
Yeah. And Nakamura too. While I'm not a big fan of Nakamura's matches anymore, I think that he's been an upper mid Carter since day one, and he's done really well there. Then of course Io Shirai has done really well there too. I think they kind of have a way to do it with the women's division there and the Japanese stars.
Mike, I think you've lowered your expectations on what Shinsuke Nakamura is. And when you if I'd have told you in 2016 that this man is going to be a perennial upper mid Carter, I think we would have all
don't want to watch him wrestle.
I think no, he was one of the greatest I've ever seen. And then he came over. He had one great match with Sami Zayn, right?
The first time
knocked it out of the park. And then after that, he was like, I'm chilling. So he's doing exactly what he wants to do. So that's why I'm like, he's had a good career there, but he's chilling. And that's what I'm saying. He's like an upper mid card guy who's just happy to be there and surf and just hang out with his friends. That's what he's doing.
But if he's encouraged to do stuff like he used to, I think it'd be different. Like, remember when he was just punching AJ in the balls for a while, and that was his whole gimmick?
Yeah.
Like, it's not
Yeah.
like it's not like it's not like they've programmed him to be what we all remember Shinsuke Nakamura to be. And again, that's what always gets me about. Oh God, I don't want to talk about Akira Tozawa. Please don't do that.
Io has a counterpoint. Akira Tozawa counterpoint. All right, I see your point.
Time.
I will just shut up. Go ahead.
The easiest counterpoint is Sari. It's the easiest counterpoint in the world.
Yeah, let's talk about her. So she was in NXT for a
Good
little
segue.
bit, right? And that was my next topic.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was in NXT
The
for
March
a little bit.
stuff
It
was
didn't
right,
work
by
out.
the way.
They tried to make her into a schoolgirl, right? Isn't that what they tried to do with
Magical school.
Have you ever heard of Sailor Moon? I think
No.
it's an anime. Well,
Mike's never heard of Sailor. Mike, you're so like
Dude,
not a nerd. You were
I don't
so
watch-
not a nerd in some aspects. I love it.
I don't, guys.
like
you're
you
gonna
don't have
find
to
this hard
watch
believe.
it. You don't have to watch it.
I've never seen a single goddamn Japanese cartoon in my life.
All right.
It's just never happened. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Well, that was kind of part of the mindset with that character.
Okay.
But my point was that they can mess up things, and I will say, Sari and Julia are very different wrestlers overall. Julia, like I said, if she walked in the door tomorrow, which she can't, by the way, sorry, PW Insider, she cannot walk in the door tomorrow. She can until at least March. So, and even then, I will add Bushiroad will do everything in their power to keep her, as they should, because she is a superstar. But with Sari, right? I don't know where we were going with this.
Yeah, no. So Sari, she left NXT. She went back to Japan, and then there was rumors out there that she was negotiating with an American company other than WWE, and then it was reported that she was negotiating with WWE, and then all of a sudden, Scotty Wrestling breaks the news and she signs with Sukiban, which I believe is a money laundering scheme with the Yakuza, right? Sorry, I don't want to ruin your reputation. That's Mike Gilbert saying that, not Scott E. Wrestling, not Scott Edwards. That's Mike Gilbert saying that.
So
Mike, you live in Hawaii. Like you best watch your words sometime when you talk about,
I'm the only one on this set that's actually had an encounter with Yakuza, right?
That's what I'm saying.
I lived in Japan for 2 years and I had an encounter with them. So and I'm here to live to tell about it. Go ahead, Scott.
Sukiban's ran by like people that live in America. So
okay, so not Yakuza, but it is money laundering scheme, right?
There's some Yakuza involvement. Let's be real here.
I am not speaking of this. I have a side to I am someone who's interviewed Sari and stuff like that. So no, what I'm going to say is when I saw PW Insider make that report, I'm just moving away from what you said.
Sorry, sorry, Scott. Sorry, move on. Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
When PW Insider released that report, my first, second, and third thought was Sukiban, because they have been the ones feeding all the information since that company had an idea and we slowly learned what it was, and then it just kind of bam out of nowhere. And then Sean Ross Sapp, of course, reported that they had interest. WWE had interest in bringing her back. And I instantly had fear because I couldn't want anything less than Sari going back to WWE. I will willingly say this. Since she has went back to Japan, she is probably the best in-ring women's wrestler in the world. I'm willing to say that. That includes everyone in Stardom. That is just her. That is her range right now. She goes in there, she delivers, she hits hard. She's pretty much everything that WWE didn't let her be. So thank you to them. Sukiban's kind of, I think I was on here when we talked about it before. I don't really understand what it is. I have yet to figure out what it is. They run once a quarter, and they have a anime. See, back to you not watching any Japanese cartoons. They have like this anime way of showing match cards and stuff like that, which I think is cool if I knew the idea and then they're on TikTok, but they do.
And it's like you have to watch it on TikTok, right?
Yeah, which I did not watch it on TikTok the first time around. I watched it on YouTube when they posted that instead because I'm not gonna lie to you. I am maybe 24 years old. I have no idea how to even try to watch it on TikTok.
Wow,
Dude,
you're an
Dude,
outlier.
I've been in some secret briefings that
About
through the
TikTok?
military. No, I've been in some secret military briefings. And this information is not classified, by the way. But we're told to stay as far hell away from TikTok as we possibly can. And I tell my airmen, I was like, you better, if you're on TikTok, you better not let me find out about it, and don't pull that shit up at work, because we all know what that thing is, and it is not good for us. So I will not be getting on TikTok.
Chinese military?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
It's they're infiltrating our society, so I will not be supporting that app.
So you're not gonna watch Sukiban. That's tough. Anyways, she signed a multi-year deal.
That show could be on cable television, and Mike would not watch it.
That's probably true. But yeah,
I
she
know.
signed a multi-year deal.
I like Josh. Every time I watch Stardom, I love it. I do. I've never seen TJPW. I've never seen fucking Ice Ribbon, like Parker. Parker's an Ice Ribbon guy, but I like Stardom.
You ain't watching Sukiban on TN if it was on a real show. Don't fuck with me. Who are you talking
No, I'm not. No, I would never.
I would let me just say this. If I was to get someone to Joshi, I would not direct them to anything besides Stardom. I will tell you that now.
Yeah.
And that will not be changing anytime soon. But yeah, multi-year deal. I think that's what you wanted me to talk about. I got lost in a lot of
Is this a real multi-year? Like, what does this mean? Is she only like? Is this a U.S. multi-year deal where we get like first rights on you when you come here? Because you said they run once a quarter. Like, I don't know how this company plans.
Well, they've run one show and they just scheduled their second show. So there you go.
Well, and so I guess my question is it exclusive? Because there were some folks out there, because TNA is coming back.
Oh God!
Every name of people that are out there are connecting the TNA to them, and there's people out there trying to connect the dots between Suri and TNA. And I said, sorry guys, Suri is not going to TNA. She's going to Sukiban. But is this like an exclusive deal? Can she go other places?
In the America, probably. Like, I don't know if she can't go to like WWE. Well, she probably could if she wanted to, truthfully.
Yeah.
But like, to me, from what I have figured out, a lot of the wrestlers, mind you, in Sukiban appear in Stardom. So there's not much exclusivity outside of the US. And like one of the wrestlers has appeared in the US since then. Actually, multiple have. So no, there isn't. I don't know if that has anything to do with an Impact, of MLW, if you sign with WWE or AEW, that you're there.
Yeah.
But to me, it's more of a way to come to the US while staying home in Japan. Like, that's still your base, but here's a show or two to come over for more than anything. So I don't think there's like exclusivity or
and then they could probably take like when they come into town for the Sukiban shows, then they could probably get their agent to book them out to some of the indie companies that are around while they're in the States.
Yeah, absolutely, which I think would make a lot of sense. Suri is kind of a different cat from a lot of the pretty much every other wrestler in that promotion. She's just like much more. The WWE part helps. She's much more in order per se, but she really controls her own dates and stuff like that. So I don't think she'll probably wrestle much here in America besides Sukiban, but I could be wrong.
Gotcha. I have massive questions about this company, but
I wish I could give you the answers. I randomly started getting press releases from them when they opened, and I was like, "How did you get my email?"
Well, is it not in your Twitter handle?
No.
Oh, because dude, I get random emails from people because they found it through my Twitter. So
that's a bold move. Why would you do that?
Dude, I get press releases from this guy Lavi Margolin, who's super nice, by the way. He's a really good business guy. Okay. But he sends me emails about his show, and I'm just like, I don't ever remember giving you my email. And then one time, JD will appreciate this. I said something really nice about a book written by Irv Mushnick. Now, Irv Muchnick wrote the Jimmy Snuka book about him and Nancy Argentino, and I read that book about a decade ago. And Irv Muchnick saw my tweet and sent me an email, and I was like, I didn't want to like say, how did you get my email? But it turns out like through Twitter, they can find your email address.
That's crazy.
I get press releases from two people, Justin for Noah and
I get
Court
those.
Bauer.
I still get the Court Bauer press releases.
Still get I'm blocked everywhere, but I still get the press releases, which
That's
I
crazy.
appreciate.
That's crazy.
That's
I get Sukeban, and I usually tweet it out because it's before they tweet it out. So, I have nothing else to say. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the Suri thing, I saw, I tweeted, and the floodgates opened. Everyone was very happy though, because the WWE thing was very recent, and everyone's like, "Here we go again."
They booked her like shit. Like for all the talk of Shawn Michaels as a genius booker, I was watching some of that stuff because Creeds, like the Creeds, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is bad!" Like it was like so. There's like this popular wave of books they called Academy stories, where these girls or it's mostly girls go to like these, for lack of a better term, magical like boarding schools where they're like vampires or wizards or whatever, and it was kind of like that a bit, but then
terrible.
She'd step like she was dressed like a schoolgirl, and then she stepped through like the NXT entrance, and then she was Sailor Moon, which is an anime about young girls watched by 40-year-old men so they can masturbate.
Oh my gosh,
that's what it is. That's what Sailor Moon is.
We might have to delete that from the show so we don't get like some kind of weird strike or something.
That's what it is.
Yeah, no, dude, I lived in Japan. You could like get panties and vending machines there. I understand.
Really?
The culture over there. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
It's just a different culture. Different culture. Hey, Scotty, so you had a big announcement earlier this week about your show. Why don't you tell us about it?
Wait, time out. You didn't want to ask about Megan Bain?
Yes.
You didn't enjoy that
okay.
That was a Monday story. It's been crazy.
Yeah. Honestly, that wasn't even on my notes. But yeah, talk to me about Megan Bain. I guess my first question is, who the fuck is Megan Bain?
Megan Bain is someone who made a big name for herself in Beyond Wrestling. I don't know if either of you have ever watched Beyond Wrestling. That's here.
Define big name from Beyond. Sorry, go ahead.
That is here in New England, based in New England, of course. She's very tall. She's very tall. She has like an Amazon type feel.
Wonder Woman.
Yes, thank you, Wonder Woman. And she came to Stardom in July, got a world title match right out the gates. She was just another person to come in, someone that made a lot of sense because, again, with Mariah May, you come in, you improve, you come back, you're at least like 5 times better, I'm sure. And she has done that. And she had torn her ACL, I believe, before that. So she had just come back, wrestled a little bit in AEW, and then went to Stardom. So she is someone that I think a lot of people find as a really great prospect here in America. And once she showed up in Stardom, I said, okay, well, people are going to be demanding her for her. They're going to want her. And ultimately, it didn't matter because AEW has had her signed the whole time, which made sense because she had a Titantron. She wrestled on their shows. I think she even won a match on Dark before, which is a big deal once upon a time. And of course, the whole story was she's been signed. And now it's just down to the he said, she said situation of, did they send her? Did they, and it was a lovely headache to walk back into the other day.
Yeah. So Sean Ross Sapp reported that she was sent by AEW to Stardom, but she was a signed talent. The Stardom Twitter account, which is, I assume, the English version, it's ran by an American who states that he books the talent, right? Said that no one sent her to Japan. Now there's like a back and forth where some saying that they were sent, yada yada. It kind of what it looks like, just from reading the different tweets and the different stories that have come out, is that she asked if she can go, and AEW said yes. We're probably not going to use you anyway. But go over there. That'd be great. Go ahead and go over there if you can get bookings, and then when your bookings are going to come back, that's kind of what it sounds like happened to me.
Yeah, 100%. I think she made the deal for herself. AEW approved it, and that's what happened. But the way it sounded was she AEW was like, hey, go on excursion to Stardom. That's what.
Well, because
that
people
made it
people
sound
are so hungry for there to be like a working relationship between those two companies, then there just
like. Oh,
isn't,
I know.
and they need
Oh,
to
I
just
know.
get over it.
Yeah, they do.
They're
They
not
do.
adversarial. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
No,
but the fans are. You
Yeah,
want to
they
talk
are.
about? There's so. I've never seen a group of possessive wrestling fans like American Stardom fans. How dare she go over there? How dare you say that? How dare you?
Whoa, hey,
What?
hello. I am one.
No, not
Yeah.
you. You don't have a crazy like anime avatar or something like
That
that.
is true. I just have my
I had
ugly face. That's the
some
difference.
weirdo showed up in my DMs today about that too. When I was talking about the Mariah May shit, I had of some hype videos like Rossi Gawa never would have allowed that. I'm like, well, you go to Bushi Road, the parent company. I don't know. I'm like, okay, whatever, mute. Like these people, they get so weird about this, and like it's whatever, man.
There is. I don't know if you both probably were able to miss this, but seeing I am
we
a
don't care.
fan of AEW and Stardom, I did not miss this back when I think Tony said something about Stardom at Forbidden Door, and like people started throwing things. Oh my gosh, it was bad. Like both sides
Yeah.
just got so obnoxious with one another. Like they were
I'm
trying to
shocked to
dunk
that.
on each other. So when Tommy wrestled a single Ring of Honor show, everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's happening!" They didn't even play her music. You know what YouTube is? YouTube, you can get any song that you need. They didn't even play her music. But my point is, both sides really want to get the
Can legally though, but continue.
well, okay, they work with Bushi Road. It was really easy to get her music.
It was doable. They just didn't do it. Yeah.
They played it over on Ring of Honor. Like once she won,
Yeah.
they played it. So she got the jobber entrance and then won. She was already in the ring, is my point, when
That's
you turned
different.
on Ring of Honor. Yeah, she beat Trish Adora, which is someone that they are obviously like.
Wow.
Yeah. My point is both sides want the who done it. Like they want to get the dunk on the other. And it's like at the end of the day, who cares? Like
Yeah.
I don't care which
I
side.
don't
Like
care.
eventually I do think these two companies will work together. You know why? Because they both work with New Japan, and New Japan makes everyone work together at the end of the day. CMLL works with AEW. That seemed impossible once upon a time. So you know
Like a
what's
month
not
ago.
impossible? Exactly. That's my point. Like CMLL is able to work with a company that also works with AAA. That's unheard of. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Stardom and AEW will eventually work together. I'm not pushing for it because we just talked about Mariah May's debut and stuff like that. Like I'm not in the necessary need for it, but I'm not also like someone that's like no, don't happen. It happens when it happens. It's natural. Like it's a headache.
Hey, Mike, how familiar are you with Megan Bain?
I learned about her this week.
Did you see like pictures of her and stuff like that? Another striking presence.
Yeah, they have a type.
Like she's big. Like she's like
Yeah.
athlete big. Like like I said, Wonder Woman. Like I think that if because Scott, has she gotten like way better? Like Mariah May.
Oh yeah,
out there.
100%.
Yeah, it's crazy how you go somewhere that works all the time. You get better. Wild. She can
Yeah,
get over.
weird.
Like she's gonna come over to AEW. She gonna get over.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope
can't
I
bring
hope
her.
so. It just depends on what they do, right?
You
Nah, she's gonna
can't
get
bring
over.
her back and just have her like lose.
Yeah.
She's like a monster heel type right off the bat. That's what Stardom did, and no one knew who she was, and she got over. It's hard for people to get over.
Yeah,
right
but
off the
that's
bat.
I mean, but you can book them. Like if they have some charisma and presence, you can book them to get over if you book them right.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like, and that's clearly what they did over there.
That's not necessarily true, as we've seen.
I mean,
throughout
it's
professional wrestling. Lots of charismatic people, lots of people who we thought were can't miss, fail to get over.
Name one.
Yeah,
Name
some
one.
people just don't connect with the audience, right? There's like nothing that you can do. But others can, as long as you book them well, they can. And then there's people that can overcome bad booking. Like Jay White came in a cold debut in a mid-card tag team, and then look at him now. He's a full gear main eventer, right?
He's
like,
drawing.
You can overcome it.
Someone else.
Yeah.
You know what's great about Jay White? He got attacked by the devil and hasn't given a flying fuck about it since it happened.
No.
never talks about it, never references it. And he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm just going to keep. You know what? He should just, possession is 9/10 the law. He is the AEW world champion currently.
Yeah. Yeah. He's held the belt for a month, right? And he got attacked. He got attacked by the devil. Now the devil has moved on to the Acclaimed. Who cares? Like, there's no feud there anymore. Doesn't care.
No, Jay White doesn't care. Good for him, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, before we get out of here, the bunny Allie left AEW. Do you guys have any thoughts at all about this?
Does she return from the undead realm?
You know what? There's a rumor going around that the Butcher and the Blade might not be far behind. The only way I could see them going into TNA is as a trio, doing that. And if the Butcher and the Blade asked for the release by Tony should be like, "You guys still work here?" Okay. Now I happen to enjoy Butcher and the Blade. I'm not a fan of Bunny. I just like that. I don't see a ton of talent there. You know
Mike,
what I mean?
You don't think that Scott would take Braxton Sutter back?
I think that he would. I just should.
Notably not talking about me. Just want to put that out there. You were talking about D'Amore. I just want to
Scott D'Amore, not Scott E. Wrestling.
Scott D'Amore. Yeah.
TNA fans always refer to Mr. D'Amore as Scott. They're all on first name basis with him.
Yeah.
That's good. I guess he brought back TNA. I guess that's allowed.
Yeah. I mean, but she did get murdered on their show, so but so did Eric Young, and Eric Young's back.
Eric Young, that's what I'm saying. Will she come back through the undead realm? Odds are yes, because she's gonna keep working, right?
Well,
she's got something to offer.
Well, the guy who wrote for the Undead Realm is doing Undead Realm in AEW right now. He's got the Coven with him now, and he's AEW's lead writer. Rosemary's not even on TV anymore. She is.
No one's
now,
on TV anymore. They don't even have a real show right now. They're just
they're
scabbing their show out to all these pirates.
JD, her name's Courtney Rush on TNA now. It's not even Rosemary anymore.
She can be Rosemary anytime she wants, man. That clock is ticking.
Hey, but to get her back through the Undead Realm, you need Father James Mitchell. Are you going to bring that guy on television now?
All you need is a little bit of the cocaine, You
know what the payment is? It's going to be $2,000, right?
Brought it back. We circled it back home.
Yeah. All right, Scotty. Hey, tell us what happened with the new show, man. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so my show, 5-Star Joe's Show, is now free and available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcast. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea where else people get their podcasts, but I know there's other places. So that's very exciting because I've been doing the show for ever.
Now, question: is this a Fight Game Media feed, or is this just the 5-Star Joshi pod feed?
It is on the Fight Game Media feed. Thank you.
Okay.
So everyone can look at Fight Game Media Network. My show will be on there every single week moving forward, which is a lot of fun for me because I really wanted to get it to more ears because I've had multiple people ask me, "Where's my show?" And I always tell them, and they say, "Okay," and that's the end of the conversation. I'm excited. I'm very excited about it. I appreciate Garrett giving me the chance. I think I whined to him enough, and he was very nice to me and let me do this. So I appreciate it. And this week actually rushed it. We were planning on doing it slowly, and then Julia stuff happened. Mariah May showed up. Megan Bain stuff happened, and he was just like, "You know what? We're gonna do it this week." And I was like,
"Dude, it was a big week for you." So we had the Megan Bain stuff earlier in the week, and to be honest, until you brought it up, I had already forgotten about it. And then I was planning on bringing in somebody else because
all the same day, by the way. Every single thing happened on the same day.
Wow. So I was planning on bringing somebody else that I'm going to hopefully bring in because they did a great article about the AEW's business and about, whether or not the profit was. Oh, that's interesting. I want to bring this guy on. And then boom, 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 one after another, Joshi. And I was like, we need Scott. Scott's got to explain this stuff to two idiots like me and JD. Because we don't quite understand what's going on in that world, and so we really appreciate you being on. Follow Scott E Wrestling. Look for the podcast. If you used to listen to us, Mike and JD show on the Fight Game Media feed, that feed still does exist. So look it up on the Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you'll get the 5-Star Joshi show. And then of course Scotty does some. Follow Scott at Scott E Wrestling on Twitter or on X, whatever we're calling it now. And then you can also follow JD and I, and then make sure that you're a subscriber to the Voices of Wrestling YouTube channel and the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. And then if you want premium content, head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. We got tons of stuff coming out. We got all kinds of podcasts. JD said he's going to be doing a JD Oliva project here pretty soon. He's got a good idea for that. So lots of stuff coming down the pike, man. JD, what you got?
I don't know
What's-
if I have a good idea or not. I'll come up with something.
Okay. you made the face like you wanted to say something.
Dude, we had a lot. We've had some good responses to our both our NWA Monopoly episode, right? We did some super deep dive on that, the old NWA Monopoly from the 1950s story when the government looked into that. And we also got some stuff. I got a lot of really good feedback from our Hall of Fame when Mike and I were just freewheeling, like, where you imagine, like, what if we had Hall of Fame votes? We don't, but like, if we did, what would we do? So I had good stuff about both.
Yeah, tons of good stuff. And then I'll be back this weekend with a brace for Impact, of course, because tonight on TNA Impact, I guess the main event is something everybody needs to watch. I have not watched it yet, but Alex Shelley versus Jonathan Gresham. So everybody's saying that's one of the ones that need to go out of the way to watch. And of course, next week is Will Ospreay versus Josh Alexander. So lots of cool stuff coming for the Brace for Impact podcast. But hey, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. So like I said, make sure that you are a subscriber to the channel. Give us a big thumbs up, throw down a comment, all that good stuff. And until next week, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Mate, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Mate, no rain from the track when we.
Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.